morning, and thank you all for being here today. I know that we share in our collective grief over the tragic loss of Alex LaMorie. This loss has touched our community in a profound way. My thoughts and the thoughts of our entire county government are first and foremost with Alex's family, his friends, and the many people who loved and cared about him. Every parent knows the hope that our babies end the day safely. As parents of children who are neurodivergent or are differently abled, we often have additional anxiety about the safety of our children, particularly as they become adults, believing in kindness, and that the world can be a place where they can live their very best lives. As neighbors in this community, we hope that people of all ages and abilities have their very best opportunity to thrive. Alex was a son, a friend, and a member of our community. Today we recognize that his life matters deeply to those who knew him and many who did not but feel the weight of this tragedy. No words can fully capture the sorrow felt when a life is lost in our community. What we can do is acknowledge that grief openly and commit ourselves to learning, to listening, and to doing everything we can to prevent tragedies like this in the future. Because the Office of the Attorney General is investigating this incident, we are limited in what we can say regarding specific details of this case. What I can say is that his death has had a profound impact on our neighbors with intellectual and developmental disabilities, their families, and the many advocates who work every day to support them. Many people in our community are grieving. Some are frightened, and others are searching for reassurance that interactions with public safety will be safe, respectful, and compassionate. Those feelings are real. Those feelings deserve to be heard. They deserved to be acknowledged. As leaders, we must acknowledge that pain honestly, we must listen carefully, and we must respond not in defense, but with humility, responsibility, and determination. Our police officers are called upon every day to make difficult decisions in situations that can change in seconds. Incidents like this remind us that we must continually strengthen our systems so that encounters involving people with disabilities are handled with the greatest possible level of understanding, patience, and specialized response. And that is not simply about policy. It's about people. During my time as county executive, we have made transformational investments, including more than $2 million in grants to our nonprofits that serve people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Additionally, we have ensured accessibility at our parks and our buildings, including enhancing therapeutic programs and creating our first inclusive playground at Laura's Place. We have a strong history of supporting our disability community with rental assistance that complements our $6 million investment for the construction of Patuxent Commons. And our Office of Disability Services continues to work with our community to ensure that our residents are receiving navigation, workforce, and the other resources that they need to support themselves. Moving forward, here in Howard County, we will forge even closer partnerships among law enforcement, disability advocates, mental health professionals, and members of our neurodivergent community to identify meaningful ways to learn and grow. Our Howard County police officers receive specialized crisis intervention training, which includes 40 hours of instruction focused on interacting with people who have autism and other intellectual and developmental disabilities. Now, Nearly 80% of our officers are formally certified in this training, and we will continue to ensure more training and growth for our officers. But we recognize that training alone cannot prevent every tragedy. Systems must continually evolve, and we must always be willing to ask, how can we do better? We also know that law enforcement officers are increasingly asked to respond to behavioral health crises. During the past 5 years alone, our police department has addressed more than 5,000 emergency petition calls involving people threatening to harm themselves or others. In the vast majority of those situations, the outcome has been safe, with the person in crisis transported to a hospital for evaluation and care. However, every encounter is different, and we must continue expanding the tools available to our officers so they have more options to de-escalate rapidly evolving situations. And that's why we're now exploring the expansion of less lethal tools, including the purchasing of additional tasers so that our officers have more alternatives when facing dangerous and unpredictable circumstances. We will also continue reviewing new technologies and best practices as they emerge. During a time like this, it is important to increase awareness of programs that can help first responders better understand the people we all serve. One such program is our confidential 911 flagging program, which allows families to voluntarily share information about residents who may be neurodivergent, have intellectual or developmental disabilities, or other special needs. When a call for service is received, this information can help dispatchers and responding officers better understand communication styles, potential triggers, and strategies that may help calm the situation. We will also work with our Department of Housing and Community Development to expand awareness of residential communities and facilities that serve adults with disabilities so that our first responders have additional context when responding to calls. At the state level, there are efforts to expand the MVA Butterfly Symbol program and integrate it with law enforcement databases. This voluntary designation helps identify people with disabilities during traffic stops, and we believe there may be opportunities to broaden its usefulness beyond that impact. Powerful partnerships within our community are essential. One of the most important partnerships we have is with Grassroots Crisis Intervention Center, which operates the county's mobile crisis program and our 988 crisis line. Grassroots has been providing these services in Howard County for more than 2 decades. Through this partnership, clinicians and law enforcement work together to respond to behavioral health emergencies as safely as possible. Mobile crisis teams can be dispatched through 988 and play a vital role in de-escalating situations on site and connecting people to stabilization or treatment services. I not only support increased state funding for 988, but we have also implemented increased 988 promotional campaigns throughout Howard County. During the height of the pandemic, in 2021, Howard County expanded mobile crisis services to be on call 24 hours a day for the first time in the program's history, and that access continues today. During the past 6 years, Howard County has also supported the creation of 2 new crisis stabilization centers, one at Grassroots and one at Shepherd Pratt. Now, people in crisis have safe and appropriate places to receive care. This coordination between clinicians and law enforcement is critical, and we have those partnerships. We also believe strongly in deepening collaboration with disability advocacy organizations. And while our police department already works closely with groups like the Autism Society of Maryland, we are also enhancing that engagement through our dedicated officer liaison program. and we want to open dialogue with two-way communication to ensure that all ideas are being heard. This would include working with advocacy organizations, county departments like Recreation and Parks, Therapeutic Recreation, and inclusion programs, mock traffic stops, practicing 911 calls with officers, and community events like Autism in the Park. These moments of engagement during calm and supportive circumstances help build trust, strengthen understanding, and ensure policies reflect lived experiences and intentions. Finally, transparency and accountability remain essential. As mentioned previously, the Office of the Attorney General is currently conducting a thorough investigation. And while we cannot speculate about its outcome, our community deserves honest communication and a clear commitment to learning from any lessons that emerge. Now, these steps alone cannot undo the pain of loss. Alex will always remain in our hearts. His life and the grief felt by his family, as well as those across our community, must guide us as we work together toward a future where families feel supported, people in crisis are met with understanding and specialized care, and every encounter carries the greatest possible chance for a safe outcome. That is the responsibility we share. That is the commitment we carry forward together. Thank you, and now I would like to turn it over to our Howard County Police Chief, Gregory Durr.
Good morning. Good evening now. Afternoon. I appreciate Dr. Ball creating the opportunity for us to address some of the issues surrounding this tragic event. When incidents like this occur in the state of Maryland involving law enforcement, by state law, the investigation is automatically turned over to the Office of the Attorney General. The process is designed to ensure an independent and impartial review. While that independence is critically important, it also limits what a local law enforcement agency can discuss publicly during the investigation. For that reason, there are aspects of this case that I simply cannot address today. However, I've asked the Attorney General's office to consider releasing the body-worn camera video sooner than their typical time frame of 20 business days. A request was made in the interest of transparency and community understanding. While nothing has been finalized yet, we are hopeful that they are considering an early release at our urging. I want to be clear. The video will be difficult to watch, but it is important that our residents, our advocacy partners, and the broader community have the opportunity to see and hear the interaction firsthand. This is never the outcome we want to see. No officer, no family, and no community ever wants an encounter to end this way. As Dr. Ball mentioned, we have made specialized crisis intervention training a major priority in Howard County. Our officers receive training that goes far beyond state requirements, and we continually look for ways to strengthen our partnerships with mental health professionals and community organizations. But even the best training and preparation cannot always prevent a tragedy. In cooperation with the Attorney General's office, we have identified certain information that I can share today in the interest of public safety, and the details of the case only add to its heartbreaking nature. On Saturday, February 28th, just before midnight, our dispatch center received a call from Alex LaMorie. Alex reported that he had believed he had been a victim of an extortion scam. After exchanging personal information and photos online with someone who claimed to be a young woman, Alex received a threat from the individual stating that the private exchanges would be released unless money was paid. Unfortunately, this type of crime is becoming increasingly common. Predators often pose as someone else online and manipulate victims into sharing private photos and videos. They then demand payment and threaten to send the images to the victim's family, friends, and other contacts. It is important for caregivers, parents, educators, and young people to understand the warning signs. We have also seen incidents where individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities are targeted by these criminals. These situations can produce intense feeling of fear, embarrassment, and shame. Our department is actively investigating the extortion crime committed against Alex. Our goal is to identify the person or people responsible and hold them accountable through criminal charges. This tragic sequence of events began with a cruel online scam and ended with the worst kind of loss. On behalf of the Howard County Police Department, we extend our deepest condolences to Alex's family, his friends, and the entire community grieving together.
So I'm sure that I don't need to reiterate again our limitations when it comes to talking about details of the incident itself, but we are happy to take any questions that you might have, and we'll answer whatever we can. Yes.
Recent release that two of the three officers involved did take the crisis intervention training. Are there any plans to either change that training or increase it as a result of this incident?
So we always evaluate situations anytime we have a critical incident, and we look at all the circumstances, and if there's something that we can do to make the situation safer for everyone involved, then we do that. So we always take a look at these incidents.
And just to add to that, 80% of our officers are certified in that training, and it is, we are one of the few jurisdictions that conduct that level of crisis intervention training for our officers and our dispatchers. Yes.
Are there any other programs in the works to, I know President McFall mentioned a bunch of programs that are to support the community. Are there any others that may be now coming as a result of what happened?
Well, we're sharing with you today everything that we've been able to sort of talk about so far. We're less than a week out from the incident, so sure, we expect evolution as the months progress, but we want to share information with you when we have it.
And also, this is part of the dialogue and the partnerships that I talked about. Making sure that we are listening and we are learning. There are subject matter experts and there are best practices from around the state and the nation that we want to continue to learn from. There's always room where we can learn from an incident, even one as heartbreaking as this, and try to implement even newer best practices.
Thank you. Larry Sable with the News. I'm sure you're aware the family put out a statement after this incident happened saying that the system has failed them. I know we're talking about the systems that we have in place here, but again, what is changing moving forward from this incident while we wait for the AG's investigation to continue?
Well, again, we're already talking about changes and evolution. It wouldn't be appropriate for us to make determinations until the investigation is done. Once we have those findings, then we can use them as a resource to decide what else needs to be addressed. Yes.
Patuxent Commons flagged, and do you have a ballpark of how many addresses are flagged in the county?
So the question about Patuxent Commons, you're asking if it's been flagged. That is one of the things that is being evaluated as part of the investigation. But as indicated, the flagging program is voluntary, and it's something that we ask individuals and their families to share with us. So they will certainly be looking at what the officers may or may not have known or understood before they arrived at the scene.
Have police been to this facility before for similar I shouldn't say problems, but similar incidents? And sort of going back to what he was questioning, officers kind of know
So Patuxent Commons, and I'll defer to Dr. Ball, but was very recently opened. The ribbon cutting, I believe, was in November. So we took a look, and there really haven't been calls for service there up until this point. But do you want to talk about the program?
Yeah, Patuxent Commons is a very new and unique property. And just to clarify, it is not 100% for people with intellectual developmental disabilities. So it would not have necessarily been a place in and of itself that necessarily would have been flagged per se, but there is the voluntary flagging program. And so it's a new facility, opened shortly before the holiday season, the winter season. And so this is part of the learning and the evolution as we continue to help ensure that everybody not only is safe, but feels safe.
We can take a couple more. Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about what goes into the crisis intervention training?
Well, we would need a much longer time period together to talk about all that goes into that, but I'd be happy to talk with you after and provide you with lots of details and information. It's something that we're very proud of, and it's very unique to have such a large percentage of a law enforcement agency so specially trained in this crisis intervention. We call them crisis intervention teams. As was mentioned, two of the officers in this incident were crisis intervention trained, and another was a negotiator, a specially trained negotiator. Kim.
Just for clarification, we originally told the 911 call was Alex calling, claiming to harm himself. But now we're saying it was the scam? Is that?
The initial call into 911 was about the extortion scam, and the incident progressed from there.
Was there a second call that he claimed to be harming himself?
We will know all those details when the Attorney General's office releases their report.
Did the officers on scene have any of these non-lethal weapons that you're looking to expand, things like tasers or pepper spray?
Another example of the analysis that will be done by the Attorney General's investigation. We know that you all have questions. We have questions too. We know you want information, and so do we. We don't even have all the information because it's not our investigation. That's important because we know that it's independent, it's unbiased, it's impartial. That's the goal here. But with that does come some limitations in sharing of information. We can do one more.
Did the officers know at the time that they were arriving here that Alex had autism and he had told that to them? Did they know all that information all laid out?
So everything that happened after this initial call for the extortion scam is part of the Attorney General's investigation, including what the officers may or may not have known or understood, what information they could see in the system, what information they learned throughout that process. So again, together, we will all have to wait until the findings come out from the Attorney General's office.